Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to our follow-up edition of the success and failures of Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow. And we are joined once again with the one and only, the badass himself, RexDaBoss11. Brother, it's good to have you back. How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going? I am all well, Warhawk. Let's talk about the Arrowverse when it started to fall off a complete and utter cliff, because this Batwoman series is head scratching, if I can say that myself. This is, if you are here, and I'm going to say this warning, if you are here and you think that we are going to be positive about this show, then you are wrong. Maybe Warhawk has some positive things to say, but I do not. So yeah, let's get to this.
Okay, so Batwoman came out in 2019, almost 5 years ago. And it's interesting because Batwoman first actually appeared in the Elseworlds crossover event back in 2018, and that served as a backdoor pilot for this series. So I was initially really looking forward to a Batwoman TV series. I thought this could very well be the best show in the Arrowverse. Yeah, we'll get to that. So we're going to start with you first, Rex. What was your thoughts on Batwoman getting her own show?
Well, firstly, I just want to just mention the Elseworlds thing. That was the biggest letdown, false hype, false advertisation. Like, in one full swoop, you went from, oh, this looks like it might be good. Oh, she's getting her own series, to very quickly, oh my word, what are they thinking? Now, this is on the cusp of me thinking around this time, some of these programs are starting to get a little bit repetitive. There's way too many episodes involved in the series of these programs. Whatever their deal is with Greg Berlanti and the CW, I'm feeling that they were getting a little bit oversaturated. And this is what they presented us with. I mean, to be honest, I was happy that she got her own. We're not going to get Batman. We know we're not going to get Batman. We knew we were never going to get Batman. Yeah, let's be perfectly honest right now.
Nah, no
we
chance.
knew we were never going to get Batman. Yeah. Then we got, well, we can sort of, because let's be fair, going back to the 90s, the Justice League film and all that, when they did that, it was like, what are you doing? If you can't give us the good ones, don't give us anything at all. But exactly. This is years and years and years later where we were all like, right, we've had Superman a couple of times and the recent ones have not been great. We've had Batman and they weren't great at a point, but they got good. And then, they tried the Green Lantern. We've covered that elsewhere. But at least they tried things. Then Arrow came along, Flash came along, and it was like, oh my word, Warner Brothers has finally woken up. All that money, all that thing, they finally woken up with DC and realized, obviously because of the Avengers Assemble, they had finally realized, oh, this is how we're supposed to portray our characters, like this, like vulnerable, but at the same time undefeatable. And if there is a bigger, badder person, we need more help, more characters, more people. So we went in this full circle of, we finally got back to the stage where it's like, well, we can kind of just sort of give them characters like Black Lightning and Batwoman and them. And at no point did anyone sit down with any of these producers and say, yeah, however, these series are going to have to be above and beyond anything else that you've done, so that people can't look back and say, well, why was Arrow so good? Because there's an element here where you get, this is where all of the, that I'm not going to get into here, but this is where all of the subjective stuff when it comes to, and let's just say, you know what Black Lightning's character is, you know what Batwoman's character was portrayed, who she was portrayed by. There's subjective things in there that you're always going to get an issue, but they had a chance to say, right, let's just throw everything at these characters and like build these from underneath characters, not these established and well-known and then half-known characters. You know, they did well with Arrow, they did well with The Flash, but these series needed to have been way, way better than what they presented them as. By this time, it was clearly obvious that there was someone overkill had kicked in and somebody just said, well, we've got this other character that we can do. She seems like she might be good for the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And you know what? We could potentially give her through means that mean nothing to any of the male fans that are going to be the fans of this program. You know, we're going to give them this alternative thing to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I watched the Elseworlds crossover event, first of all, it was a huge letdown, especially as I know the Elseworlds comics very, very well. There were some good points to it, but most of it was just like a Freaky Friday sort of episode. So I was quite disappointed with that. But
this wasn't the first one either, was it? So it was like...
No, I think this was like...
You could very much see that across the series that they brought out, they were struggling to maintain that continuity within all of the series. Whereas when they first did the crossover ones, the Crisis on Infinite Earths and stuff like that, they kind of made sense because it was like, oh, we're going to get at least a couple characters on this screen together.
Yeah, that came just a little bit after Elseworlds. But Batwoman, for me, was the highlight of the Elseworlds crossover events. You know, you had that great scene where Oliver and Barry were fighting each other after being gassed by Scarecrow's fear toxin. So Barry thought he was fighting Eobard, and Oliver thought he was fighting Malcolm Merlin, and then Batwoman got involved and just basically knocked them both out. So I thought, okay, this is quite cool, you know. And then they announced that Batwoman would be getting her own spin-off series, and I thought, okay, we know we're not going to get Batman, which is fair enough.
Was it the same girl? Was it the same girl?
Yeah, it was
the same actress, yeah?
Yeah, it was the same actress. Ruby
Yeah,
Rose.
they screwed this up earlier. They screwed this up earlier because she came in with a bang when she first came in.
Yeah, she did.
Like, we finally got the problem. Like, Oliver's got the money and all that, but he didn't have the problem solving and sort of like the detective thing that Batman had. And obviously that's what she was supposed to have brought, in my opinion. We can't have Batman, so we're just going to give you the same Batman character, but it's going to be Batwoman. Simple.
Yeah. And I remember watching it, and when they announced that, I remember watching it thinking, okay, I could get behind this. This could actually work. And one of my good friends who's done videos with me in the past, who's a big Batwoman fan, he was really excited. He said to me, finally, we're getting a Bat show, and it's Batwoman. This is going to be so cool. So I remember fast forward to the pilot of Batwoman, which was season 1. And I'm not going to lie, it was really slow. It took a long time for anything to actually happen and pick up. I would say the last 10 minutes of the episode, it picked up, but at the same time, it wasn't enough. So I thought, okay, this was enough to watch the next episode, but they've got a lot of work in front of them to make this show work. You know, so that was kind of how I felt with the first episode of Batwoman. I thought they need to make this work. They've got a lot of work in front of them. But over the course of the series, there were some good episodes, but there were some episodes that were just stupid, and the whole thing of I'm a lesbian, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know in the comic books that Kate Kane is a lesbian, which is fair enough. That's how she's written in the comic books. But I felt in the show, especially the first season in particular, they just bashed it over our heads every chance they could get. Oh, I'm a lesbian. Bonk.
No one cared. No one cared that she was a lesbian. Yeah?
No.
Let me make this clear. I personally did not care that she was a lesbian. A red-blooded male would not care if she's a lesbian or not, because if he's going to have perverted thoughts about her, he's going to have them regardless. Yeah?
Yes.
But what they did was, with this character, where they had to at least make her, whether she's a lesbian or not, they had to make her attractive and attainable to men, because that's the audience that that's in front of you. And too many slaps in the face very early on with Felicity, with Cora in Supergirl, and with a few of the other characters, like even Cora's sister. She's clearly lesbian.
Yes.
But they made them seem like, and I know in a way it's like, oh yeah, probably because they were more struggling with their sexuality. Yeah, fair enough. But they made them seem more appealing, at least in the first couple series with Alex Danvers. They made her more appealing regardless. You still knew she was a good-looking woman. Right, can she kick ass? Yes, she can kick ass. Can we get to it? Yeah, we can get to it. She's got a purpose. Whereas I feel like 20 minutes into this pilot of Batwoman, all I could take out of it was, right, so I've got to watch another 20 episodes of basically being told I'm a bad human being for being straight and being a male.
Oh, God.
I'm not good enough.
The thing is also, to add to what you said, make them appealing as well, but you've also got to make them likable. You've got to
Yeah,
make
who was this made for? Like, ask yourself this question very early on. Who was this series made for? Because not one person, I'm saying now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Like, we can laugh and joke about wrestling and wrestling podcasts and all that. The percentage of female audience to those wrestling podcasts is probably like 1 to 5%.
Yeah.
I would go further with comic books and say it's probably lower. Girls like Batman, girls like Superman, girls like Wonder Woman, girls like all of that. I'm not sure that any of them young girls were sitting there watching the background series of the DC and the Marvel programming.
No.
Girls like them characters because their boyfriends and their mums and their brothers and their dads take them to the cinema from being young to being older to go watch them type of film. And they're exciting. I don't think you'd be sitting on a sofa, not even to be rude, but if they're the type of films that a boy would put on, sitting with his girlfriend, and it would turn from both of you sitting there watching the film at home to other stuff happening. Whereas maybe if you go out to the cinema, you might actually watch the film. But, yeah. I highly doubt that the audience of women that were watching any of the Arrowverse programs was more than 10% at any time.
No.
So who was this program in this series? Who was this series made for?
I have no idea. That is a really good question. I have no idea who this was aimed at or who this was intended for. And another thing as well, the main character, Kate Kane, who was played by Ruby Rose, I never really got the sense that she was a likable character. You always have to find something like, okay, she's cool because she does this, or she's cool because she's like this. There was nothing I liked about her.
She played the role that she played. They wanted her to come across as broody, miserable, because that's what Bruce Wayne comes across as.
Yeah.
But once again, we're not looking at Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne's not there.
If 85 to 90% of your audience is straight men, whether they've been with a woman or not, they're not looking at Batman and thinking, oh, Batman's muscly. You know what I mean? That they're not doing that, yeah?
No.
They're thinking Batman is here to kick somebody's ass. Yeah, simple as that, yeah? Like, save the day, kick ass, let's get to it, yeah?
Definitely.
Batgirl, Batwoman, Supergirl, you're always going to get the element of, I don't care how powerful she is, she's got a nice horse, you're always going to get that. And that's not personally me. But the problem with this is, like you say, they made Felicity, even Iris West in Flash, even as annoying as she was, they made her appealing to men, women, and children because she was a comic book character in a comic book live action adaptation. In this, they made a girl who was already subjective through sexuality, through her choices, through her behavior, broody, mardy, unappealing, unlikable. Within 10 minutes, any normal fan of any of the Arrowverse, whether it doesn't take a person who doesn't like people who are gay or none of that, it would just take a person who likes Batman or Superman or any of this. 10, 20 minutes in, off, I'm turning this off, I can't deal with it. Too much One Tree Hill, not enough action. We gone back in time here, to before Smallville.
Pre-Smallville.
This was Birds of Prey, but just one of the characters taking out Birds of Prey and basically, right, let's see what we can do here. Let's just give her a thing here. But, we're going to make this character pretty much completely unlikable. And it's all about suspending your disbelief. Like, she is a heel, but she's also saving the day. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. She's not Deathstroke. Sorry, she's not Deathstroke. She's not Deadshot. She's not those characters there that you're like, yeah, but he's still a badass though, isn't he? Whether he's bad or whether he's good, he's still a badass though, yeah?
Yeah.
She's not those characters.
No.
She'd have been better off being bad. She'd have been better off being brainwashed and being bad and just having an alternative series where you just had her being, she's thinking it one way and everybody else is thinking you're not helping, you're actually making things worse. Yeah. But that's how she should have been portrayed, as just a total, I don't give a fuck type of person, rather than it just honestly, this series was where you realize that they hadn't just fallen off the cliff; they were right at the bottom of the mountain or whatever. They're right at the bottom on the rubble, trying to scarp everything together.
Yeah, I mean, this had potential to be probably the best show
Yeah,
after Arrow. It's a Batman character. I
yeah,
thought,
because it
okay,
features that word. It's that word, bat.
yeah,
Bat.
exactly.
Once you bring the bat in any shape or form in,
You're
this, to
guaranteed
be honest, this should
success.
have just been. I heard rumors that this was supposed to have been. Nightwing was supposed to have got his own series, and he
Yeah,
didn't get his own series.
no, they couldn't get the
This should
rights
have
to
been
Nightwing.
Nightwing. This
Yeah,
should have been Nightwing, and I'm sorry. Or this should have been Red Hood. This should have been one of them. Not because he's a male, because you could portray the character exactly the same, broody, mardy, upset, annoyed at the rest of society, pissed off. But what the one positive that we get from her is, well, I'm a woman, so I'm going to do it better. Right, off. Turn this off now. You know what I mean?
Enough.
I don't need kicking in the balls and then telling that my balls weren't big enough when you after you've stomped on them 35, 40 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't need that.
But, as bad as our lead was in Batwoman season 1, there was one person who, to me, carried this show as best as she could. And for me, if we didn't have this person, I don't know what would have happened. Rachel Scarsden, who played Alice, to me, she was the only person, as far as I was concerned, made this show, I wouldn't say watchable, but tolerable. She was a great villain. She was written pretty well. She was kind of like the show's Harley Quinn, and they looked at it like, well, we can't have Harley Quinn on the show because Margot Robbie's playing on the big screen, but we can have someone like that. And Rachel Scarsden as Alice was excellent, even though at times the writing for her was a bit suspect.
Yeah.
For the most part, I thought, you know what, I really could do with an Alice
Half
scene.
Joker, half Two-Face sort of character.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Well, she was a woman, obviously. So it was like, well, to be fair, no. 1/3 Joker, 1/3 Two-Face, 1/3 Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. They were blatantly going with that.
Yeah.
Sort of unhinged, blonde, curly, permed hair, glasses. Which, to be fair, in the DC universe, that started to happen quite a lot, didn't it? These beautiful but dulled down women. As in, oh, respect me for being a bit of a geeky woman. Like, no, just give me a woman to play this role. I don't care about any of that, really. Like, it's when you make it obvious that you're trying to avoid those things that I'm then going to start looking and thinking, has she got an arse? Has she got tits? That's when I'm going to start looking at that. They should have learned from Alicia Silverstone. No one's watching them because they're thinking, oh, my God, Batwoman is going to save. No one's thinking that. It's like, let's just see how she blends in with the team. Like Romanoff did in the Avengers. Like we've seen even Iron Man's wife. Like they help, don't they? They help. Gwen got killed because she was there. We've seen this in all of the things. It's pretty much carbon cookie cutter or whatever it's called. Yeah, where you can just copy and paste and take the version of the story and say, right, this is what it is. This is what it is. But it's like at the same time, she's supposed to be the villain. I spent a lot of time in the episodes that I watched thinking, well, I don't really like Batwoman. She's actually making quite sense here. And when the villain starts to make sense, that's when you know you've got a problem.
It's not even just that. When the villain, and obviously, the old saying is the hero is only as good as the villain they face.
Yeah.
But
in someone's story, both of them are the bad guy in someone's story, aren't they?
Yeah, but when the villain is far more interesting than your lead, yes, that's a good thing, but ultimately it is a bad thing because, yeah, obviously you can't wait to see what's the villain going to do next. But
yeah,
when you have a very bad episode, which there was quite a few in season 1, but there were some not too bad ones. But when you get those bad episodes, you just think, I could really do with an Alice scene right now. And then Alice does show up. You're like, thank God for Alice.
It's all they really LGBT'd up this program, didn't they? Because she came out as being a lesbian. There was the gay black guy with the glasses.
No, he weren't gay.
Well, it came across to me as gay.
Initially,
because I just thought, what's the guy from Arrow, Mr. Terrific? He came out as gay, didn't he? And I thought, right, so we've got to have a gay character in every corner now. Which this is the thing. I don't want people to come across and think I'm anti-gay. I don't care. Let people live their lives.
Yeah.
It's because I feel that they used that as an excuse because the program was bad, because they knew that that was going to be a backlash from certain corners. So it's like this program failed because of the anti-gay. And it's like, no, this program didn't fail because anyone hating that. This program failed because you tried to force something down people's throats that was unnecessary. And to be fair, in this world, they were not ready for that.
No.
Wrestling hasn't ever really gone near that because of that.
No.
Like we know the whole thing. Like recently, there was something that happened on a live event where a female who is openly bisexual in the world of wrestling, she did something that was hilarious to another very popular straight female, as in, you do that to me when you're not supposed to do that to me because I don't care if you hurt me or not. I just want you to have a certain part of your body near me. And anyone in the crowd and in the audience, on that live audience, would have worked out, even the kids, what she did that for. Because to her, that's like appealing to her. So that, you know, like to a man, you know, Rhea Ripley wants to do a certain move, you get up out of the crowd and sit in the corner. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, oh, yeah, well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, of course I am. Yeah. So that's what she was doing. But I don't think that they put that on live TV.
No.
Because of the potential backlash. Whereas this is not live TV, but this is what they presented us with, which is we're not just giving you a program that's got like gay, lesbian, bisexual, you know, LGBT vibes to it, which I watched the whole of Our Flag Means Death. I thought that program was absolutely fantastic, and it's the whole cast is basically gay and bisexual. I thought that program was fantastic, but they didn't, even though you knew what was going on, they didn't force it down your throat.
No.
Even in that environment. And I'm saying, so why did these programs, and this is obviously previous to whatever they did with season 2 and 3, which that even got even more confusing. But yeah, in that original series, I do feel that they structured the whole series as an LGBT vibe, because then they had the excuse of, oh, people don't like this because of that. And I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was it was just poor. It was just a poor program that was poorly scripted, and they took elements that no one knew what was going off, and they took the wrong characters and the wrong people. This Batgirl should have been constantly in danger and being able to fight her way out of a you know, like basically like she should be able to find that needle in the haystack regardless.
Yeah, totally. What was your thoughts on Rachel Scarsden as Alice?
I thought she played it well, and like I said, to be fair, it was the only sort of DC vibe that I was getting from this program, because she did have that sort of unhinged early 90s DC villain, you know, just erratic and not speaking with any sort of sense. Like, but at the same time, sort of like, yeah, I you know what, in a different world, I can kind of get behind what she's saying. You know, the sort of like Max Shrek sort of thing. Where it's like, you know what? Yeah, when I first seen this and I was more a kid that was on the good guy side, I was like, yeah, this guy's talking absolute nonsense. What's he on about? But then when you get older and you think, yeah, you know what, the frustrations of the world and stuff, yeah, I can kind of buy into what they're saying. That's what I like. I liked Deathstroke and his vendetta and wanting to get back at obviously Oliver and other people for what he'd been through and all that type of stuff. And obviously the unhinged with the Mirakuru. I liked certain elements of the Flash and the Reverse Flash wanting to destroy the Flash, all that going back in time, finding the weakest point of the character that you're fighting against, yeah? I understood all of that, yeah? But in this series, this was the very first series where I actually thought, I actually liked the bad people, even some of the random just like bad characters. I'm literally on the NWO side in this series. I'm not on the babyface side of this series.
I think if they had got the rights to have Harley Quinn in the Arrowverse, Rachel Scarsden would have made an excellent Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah. But then at the same time, though, you know what? The person who I really think would have made the best Harley, they already had her, and that was the woman who played Felicity. I feel like that there was a chance for her to. She really does look like the Harleen Quinzel, doesn't she? Like, to be fair, when I first seen her with Arrow, I thought, is she gonna get that Harleen Quinzel unhinged, you know, with the glasses and all that, good looking? is she going to get that really unhinged characteristic to her? But they never went down that road with her. But yeah, like, to be honest, I think Harley Quinn, out of all of the female characters, apart from maybe Wonder Woman, I think she's probably benefited the most because of things like this.
Yeah,
Like
she
when you
definitely
look at
did.
the performance of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in the films that she's been in, compared to the portrayal of some of these females in the TV programs, it's like, oh my word, what were they thinking? And look at what she's doing in the programs, bro. Look at what she's doing she's half naked. There's clearly that element of insane sex appeal to her.
Yeah,
But they
totally.
couldn't just give all of these characters that.
I think with someone like Alice, I think it was their way of saying, well, we're never going to get Harley Quinn, but we can have someone close
Yeah.
to that. And
Second rate Harley Quinn versus a second rate Batman, and it just
but
smelled of shit. It did. It smelled of shit, bro. It smelled of shit because she could have come on this screen and she could have played, Michelle Pfeiffer's character from fucking Dangerous Minds. That sort of level of actress, yeah. And it still wouldn't have worked in this world. I feel like, looking back now, I feel like it did her a disservice because she was so well in her character.
I
She
think that was
probably,
the problem.
clearly, she didn't film her scenes at the same time that anybody else was recording their scenes, because I even feel like her voice was at a different cadence to everybody else. She seemed with it.
The thing with her was, I thought, for such a bad show like Batwoman was, her scenes as Alice, whoever did her scenes, give that he or she a pay rise, because
Yeah.
her scenes were really well written. Really
Yeah,
and
when you
truly.
watch a lot of the recaps as well, it doesn't feature much of her because
No.
most of the recaps are based on why did this program fail? And she's not one of the reasons why this program failed.
Oh no, totally. She carried
to
the
be
show.
fair, and I do feel bad for Ruby Rose, but her character is lambasted for like the main reason why this program did not work. Like, she's just lambasted. Like, when you watch any of the recaps or the worst scenes from this program, like I have with the other programs, you can see that there's a flavor.
Yeah.
They obviously mentioned that the black girl who took over the role, it just failed, it didn't work. And, all that's mentioned, but no, I'll be honest with you, like, even in the season 1 recap, right at the start of it, it shows Alice, and you can already see, like, it's just, she was just the right character in the wrong program.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. That's what makes it even more strange. How can someone who's so well written, like Alice, be stuck in a show like this? Really and truly, if I was in charge, I would have put her in Arrow for a few episodes.
Let me ask you this question as well. Obviously, not from a male perspective, but from a comic book perspective, do you feel that this character gives you the same sort of, oh shit, it's Wonder Woman? Did you feel that this character gives you that same vibe?
What, with Batwoman? No.
Yeah, because
No.
I feel like if I'm Bane or I'm one of those characters in this universe, and she walks in the room, you would get that laugh moment like they would when Robin would walk in the room. Like, what, you want me to be scared of you? Now, maybe that could be the downfall of the villain, but that should not be what is the first thought to it. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like we say, they couldn't get Batman, couldn't get any of the main sort of Batman characters, but you had a chance here. But once again, she was the wrong actress in this role. She needed to be, even if she was lesbian, she needed to be more butch, more physical, more ready to just go. And she needed to be more believable. But to have her, why was her character exactly the same as Bruce Wayne?
Well, in the comic books, and they referenced it in the show, Kate Kane is the cousin of Bruce Wayne.
So why would she be the same, though? If she was erratic and happy-go-lucky and all that, but still a badass as the Batman, in the Batwoman suit, fine. But to have her almost carbon copy play, sort of Christian Bale's brooding, sort of, no one likes me, I'm not liked, I'm just a prick who's got money.
Yeah.
To have her play that role is mad. It's mental, because she's not Batman. And everybody knows from moment one, she's not Batman.
No. And some of the Batman villains did appear in the show, like Hush. I'm a big fan of Hush. You know, Hush, for those who know, is the childhood friend of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they announced that they were going to bring Hush in the show for an
That's a
episode or two,
pretty decent animated film as well, by the way, guys. If you
oh
haven't
yes,
seen that
brilliant.
animated film, you'll be wasting your time watching any episodes of Batwoman. But yeah, I would highly recommend the Batman Hush film that came out, what,
And
3 or 4 years ago?
also check out the graphic novel as well. It is phenomenal. One of the best graphic novels I've read. And you know, when they announced that Hush was coming to the Arrowverse and he was appearing in an episode or two of Batwoman, I thought, okay, I could get behind this. This could work. I mean, really and truly, if you're going to bring Hush, I thought maybe you could have saved him for season 2 as the main villain. But I thought maybe this is a warm up. They completely ruined Hush. This is a guy who was so obsessed with Bruce Wayne, he made himself into Bruce Wayne. He's a plastic surgeon, for God's
Yeah.
sake. He made
So,
himself into Bruce Wayne. That's how obsessed he was. We didn't get that.
yeah, can we also talk about the really, and I mean really confusing flashbacks that we got in this series as well, which were
Oh, yes.
like when you think about Arrow, yeah?
Mm,
When you think about Arrow, what was the main thing in season 1 and most of season 2? It was the flashbacks to what was going on
that's
when he was
right.
on the island. Now, by all accounts, that was very clever
It was.
production. They filmed obviously those episodes like it was going to be right. This is going to be episode 1, and then at some point we're going to go back to episode like 9 is going to be back on the island, and we're going to just show you in like 2 episodes exactly what took place over a 2 or 3 year period on the island and in and around the island. But they made strategical choices to. You could tell they were part of the same production,
Yeah.
but you could tell that they decided, right, take 3 minutes here or 3 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 4 minutes there, 1 minute, because they even got a bit stingy in the middle of season 1, where they started doing like in every episode, you get 2 like 30, 40 second flashbacks rather than 1 2 minute sort of flashback in the middle of the episode or the start or the end of the episode, which depending on what it was leading to. But you know, they kept you gripped. Sometimes the episode could be pretty dull. And then right at the end, they would show you that 2 minute Deathstroke on the island moment, and you just sat up in your chair and went, right, I've got to watch next week's episode.
Yeah, of
And that's
course.
what got me hooked into Arrow. Do you know what? When I watched some of those flashback scenes, I don't think there's many from this series, but I just watched a video on YouTube. Now you should never really just go straight to the point with programs like this, but yeah, I watched some of those flashback clips, and my word, they are questionable at best, even to this moment. Now they may have revealed this in season 2 if Kate Kane had continued as Batwoman, but there were some things that I'm still sort of scratching my head of. Yeah, what the hell has this got to do with what we're seeing? Is
Yeah, I
this
know.
her? Is this her parents getting shot moment, or is this her sort of? This is where I learned how to become and save the day sort of thing. Like to this moment, I still don't know. I'm talking about the flashback. I think it's the first flashback where the mum's in the car crash and they're in the back
Oh,
of the
yeah,
car.
yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
happens, I still don't know what that was about. I watched that 4 years ago when this series first came out. I watched that last night. I watched it earlier on today, and I'm still like, yeah, did this ever get sort of like referenced as like anything, or was it just a way of like character building and stuff because it didn't work?
Well, I mean, it was more about what happened to Alice, who is, of course, Kate's sister, because in season
Yeah,
one,
that was
she's
weird as well. Yeah, that was weird because I didn't really get that when I first watched it. Oh, these two are actually related.
yeah,
I didn't
well,
get it.
she was led to believe that her sister died in the car crash, but she was taken in by some creepy guy who basically emotionally tortured her into
Yeah,
becoming Alice, and she gets raised with this young boy who grows up to be like in Alice in Wonderland, like his mouse, and mouse in a way is kind of like Hush. He's basically more Hush than Hush was, and you do learn more about later on what actually happened in those years that Beth was missing before she transformed into Alice. And the episode that they did, don't know if it was in season one. It might have been in season one. They did a whole episode just about what happened to Beth. It was I thought it was one of the best episodes of the show. You know, as bad as the show was, I thought that episode where Alice told her whole story about what happened to her in the years she
Mm.
was missing. I thought it was one of the best episodes that show ever did. I thought, okay, I really like this one a lot. Why
I mean, to be
couldn't we
fair,
get
they
more
went
of
down the
this?
right route. They did we're going to make her a carbon copy of Bruce Wayne. They
Yeah,
gave her her version of Alfred, her version of Lucius, her version of whatever, love interest, whatever else.
yeah,
And then at that point there, whoever was writing this must have either fallen asleep and somebody else thought, oh, I can do this better. Or they just decided, well, I've got no more.
yeah,
Because I look at the point where it's like, yeah, let's take aside all of the negatives that we've already spoken about, all of the LGBT, all of the bad acting and the bad scripting. Surely when they were sitting in production, when they were talking about making this, there is no way that they planned this to come across this sort of unstructured. And it's all the same. I was reading, it's all the same people who made Flash and made Arrow and all of those things there. And surely at some point there has to have been either budgetary reasons, people weren't doing what they were told on set. I don't know. But there has to be something more than, because these were not even the most well-paid actors. So it says to me, what, you can't tell me that 3 episodes in they couldn't tell this ain't gonna work.
yeah.
Like, where were they gonna go after? This is the question I've got. Where were they? Like, who was this aimed at first? Like I said before, we still can't answer that. And where were they going with this? Like, you can't tell me that if you're a production person and you're getting paid right now, and I'm not talking about hindsight, I'm talking about right now, someone lands on your desk the first 40 minutes of this episode or 40-minute episode, the first episode of this, and you couldn't walk into an office and say to the other 10 people that you work with, right, guys, are you honestly telling me that you would accept this in 2019, even as a fan of the DC Arrowverse? Are you telling me that you would watch this first episode and if you were being paid to be a critique, and you're telling me that you'd be okay with that first episode and then subsequently the first maybe like 10, 12 episodes?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
At some point, I'd have rather this had the plug pulled right at the start and look, this is not going to work, than to have the full season done. And then to be fair, this woman, this character got 3 series, bro. So it's
Well,
like head scratching.
in a way, which we are going to tap into this very shortly, in a way, if you look at all 3 seasons, it's 2 different shows, but
Yeah.
with the same
I
title.
said this to you last time, didn't I? That when we were just talking briefly off air, this is actually 2. It's not the first program either, because other programs have done this as well.
Yeah, they have.
Where we spoke about this before, didn't we? In one of the other series, you've got one series, and then you've got a separate series that was. They tried to sort of make it seem like it was the same thing, but it wasn't.
No.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, that's a good segue, that is, because we're probably going to get on to season 2 anyway.
We will shortly.
What do you think? Should they have just recast her as the same character and gone with what they were going to do anyway? Or do you think that they did this the right way by actually recasting the Batwoman character as a different version of Batwoman, rather than being like the woman that just waking up the next morning and being like, hey, you look a bit different, which she obviously looks different because it's played by a different character. Like for an example, Spartacus, they had issues in the first series of that where the guy got ill, so they had to recast
the main guy
Andy whatever with Liam whatever, or whichever way it went around. Liam McIntyre was one of them, and then they obviously changed to whoever they changed to. But yeah, they changed the main character, and it took a little bit, but it never really changed the program for me because you knew what was going on and you knew who he was playing.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to do that here, obviously. So what would you have rather them done, looking back now?
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting that you say that, because Ruby Rose left the show after season 1 was finished, and they recast Kate Kane with a different actress. Now, the actress that they went with was a lady named Wallace Day, who was in Krypton. Very good actress. And she kind of looks like Ruby Rose a little bit. but just a lot older. And she was in season 2, and they came up with a story arc that Kate Kane was kidnapped and she was basically tortured by Falseface. I thought she was a better actress than Ruby Rose. Obviously, Ruby Rose had to play the character how she was told to play, but for some reason, Wallace Day, who played Kate Kane in season 2, I thought she was written better, and she came across as a bit more likable in some strange way. I think personally, if I was in charge of this show, I wouldn't have gone the way they did with season 2 and 3. I would have kept her on as Kate Kane because
Right.
she seemed more likable.
So this is not the black girl then.
No. What happened? They did
Is
was
this? In fact, no, you're right. This is the really good-looking blonde.
yes, she was in
Yeah.
Krypton. Really
That they brought in, like, and it's like now you've made it even worse because she's even better looking. But because of the reveal, because she's playing the same character, because she was actually playing the same character, wasn't she?
That's right.
So yeah, you are right. I apologize. They did eventually just change to the black girl eventually, but like, and she was a different character. But yeah, Kate Kane actually, yeah, you're right. She actually was played. So going back to my original point, no, I actually, now I'm going to retcon that and say the question isn't should they have gone this. The question is like, should they have recast her like they recast her, or should they have just gone straight to the secondary character? Because it clearly didn't work in season 2 either, did it? Like, not saying that the program was as bad, but she obviously didn't have a great time, because why didn't she come back for season 3? Why did they choose then to recast her? There's so much here, which is like, I'd completely forgotten that in season 2, yes, they actually had completely recast her as a different girl. But what was she still playing the thingy Kane? Was she still playing her?
Yeah, she was still, Wallace Day still played her, but what I liked about Wallace Day was, for some strange reason, she was written better, as you said, much better looking. She was a little bit taller as well. She just came across as more likable. I mean, obviously, she's a much older, more experienced actress than Ruby Rose, and she was in the Krypton TV series as well. And there was a lot of excitement when they said they were going to bring her into Batwoman season 2. There was a lot of anticipation. I thought, oh, finally, we're getting a decent actress to play this character. Maybe something good could come out of this. But she didn't stay on. She done season 2, and she was pretty much gone after that, which is a real shame, really, because I really think they should have kept her on and try and make.
Yeah, I agree. Now looking back, because I remember when I first started communicating with you, I think that was during season 2 of Batgirl, and I had stated, and you'd said, look, they actually have tried to improve things a little bit in season 2, and I remember watching it, and that's where the confusion set in, which was like, I couldn't remember, and I didn't have enough time, and I didn't want the effort to go back and watch season 1. But I was thinking, well, either she's grew her hair out and she's become a better actress, which obviously, like I say, no, it was a completely, like you said, she does look slightly like her. So to the untrained eye at the time, yeah, I actually thought at the time that, looking back now, yeah, that was the same character. Thinking back to 2020 or 2021 when I first started seeing a few episodes of the Batgirl season 2, I actually did think that she was playing the same character. It wasn't until after I started seeing videos come out when season 3 had failed and people saying, why did this program fail, that I realized how hated the Ruby Rose was. And to be fair, like you say, that Wallace Day, she didn't do too badly, but she's not really mentioned, is she?
No, I mean, she's not a well-known actress. I mean, she's quite respected, but she's not what you would say like a big name. But a lot of people actually preferred her, and a lot of people actually said, well, why don't you keep her on? Try and make a proper go of it, because I felt that, with season 1, it wasn't perfect, but there were still some decent episodes. I got the impression with season 2 that they were just trying to do like this semi-soft reboot. I said, okay, we're going to take out all the stuff that went wrong, take all that out, and then we're going to try and improve on the things that you didn't get in season 1. I mean, season 2 wasn't perfect, but it was a little bit more enjoyable than season 1. Season 1 was just basically just trying to remove your teeth without
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
get
I feel
hurt.
like looking at season 2 now, even going back to some of my original negative thoughts, which I will not take back. I feel like looking back at season 2, it actually makes season 1 even worse
Mm,
because they clearly knew during season 1 that they had an actress that looked uninterested in the role, that
yeah.
didn't fit the role, that also the fans weren't liking in the role. And then
No.
when like you just said then, so like really and truthfully, when this young woman's come into this second role and she's taken the role on from that day forward, like I mean, to be fair, I don't think it kind of shows there must have been something back behind the scenes, because if she couldn't work the role out, even though, like you say, she was clearly more fitted to the role, just not even in a horrible way. As a man, I've got the right to say this. It's nothing to do with me categorizing women and trying to say who's the best looking, but she looked so much more appealing as
Mm,
Batwoman than what
definitely.
Ruby Rose did, because she's just not there pouting and like the lesbian thing being forced down your throat. Like, oh look, I've got short hair. Let's make it even shorter. By the way, midway through season 1, they made her hair even shorter. So
Oh.
that like one of them ones, like respect me for who I am. And it's like, well, what, you want me to respect you for being a poor actress who hasn't taken a role of a character that you could have been that character for about 7 or 8 series on TV?
Well, from what I've read, I mean, well, from what I've read of reports, they said that Ruby Rose was very difficult to work with, and she wasn't
Yeah,
a
yeah,
team
that's what I
player.
mean. Yeah,
She
yeah.
wasn't a
I should
team
have said that
player.
earlier on.
Yeah, they said that she wasn't a team player, and there was because Ruby Rose is Australian. She said she didn't want to constantly travel to, I think, was it the Vancouver where they do all the CW show.
Canada, yeah,
Yeah,
Canada.
Canada. Yeah, they didn't want to. She didn't want to constantly travel back and forth, because what I've noticed as well, obviously Batwoman's all finished now. What I've noticed, because I follow a couple of the actresses on Facebook, like their Facebook page, all of the cast, they still remain very friendly with each other, but they never take pictures with Ruby Rose. I never see Ruby Rose with them. So there's something there already that clearly
Yeah,
they didn't get
I
along with
spoke,
her.
I spoke to you about this a few years back when we first started talking, and I did say, with these series in the Arrowverse, you're always going to get actors and actresses that are either too big for the role or the role's too big for them,
Yeah,
and you're gonna quickly find out very quickly. And I'll give perfect examples here. Caitlin, who played Killer Frost, she was clearly a consummate actress who could handle a on television screen role, but they learned very quickly that she is not going to be believable in the real serious role of Killer Frost. You've got to actually develop this character. You can't
right.
just say she's going to wake up tomorrow morning and start, like she's clearly got this split personality living within her. But if we just go constantly throughout the series, go light switch and she's Killer Frost, the first couple of times that they did that, you could clearly tell she's not comfortable not knowing what part of Caitlin that she's supposed to be locked into. So obviously they probably sent her away, did her a little bit of research, told her to learn the character. And you could tell by the later series that she'd learned how to not only control, which obviously through the programming and training and all that, she learned how to control the Killer Frost part. She also played as an actress the Killer Frost role so much better. Like when it would just turn to, on Crisis Infinite Earths, it would just turn to a scene where Killer Frost is just there. She would
Yeah,
be a lot more believable and a lot more about it. Whereas if you start her off as the main character, if that series was Killer Frost and she was acting like Caitlin was in the first 10, 15 episodes of The Flash, you'd have switched off ages before, because it's like, I can't get into this character. And
no,
then you've got the second woman who's then got to try and do that all over again. And then once again, like you say, by the third series, you've got another female who isn't the same character, who is a different color, it's like, oh,
what are
what
you
was they
doing?
thinking here? Like, this is an amalgamation of the things that you've just mentioned, trying to keep the budget low by filming the program in Canada, using Australian, Canadian, New Zealand actresses and actors, because it's technically you can get cheaper people, and you can get it doesn't cost you as much. You won't have to pay as much for travel and hotels
No,
and all that if you hire local and people like talent from England and from places like that. Whereas if you hire a load of kids from California and Florida, it's going to cost you a lot more.
of course. But with Ruby Rose, I think she just wasn't a likable person. I mean, that's why she left after one season.
Well, let me ask you a question. What kind of things was she in before, and has she been in anything since?
She was in Ruby Rose was in a program called Orange is the New Black, I think it's called. It's like a
Yeah, I remember
female.
that. Some
Yeah,
Netflix
she
thing,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, she was in that. That was where she made her name on, and she's been in a few other shows since then. Not very well known shows, but I haven't heard much about her recently though. But
Well,
yeah,
let's be fair. If you only get one chance in the DC universe and that type of stuff in the films, you definitely ain't going to get a second chance in the programs. Let's be fair. Like, you fail at that level there, you've failed as a character and as an actor in the DC universe. That's not me taking anything away from her acting skills. She could be the greatest actress going. But the way she was portrayed and the way she allowed herself as the actual actress, you can tell. Warhawk, we're old enough now to know the difference between, say, Barry Allen when he's just not been great, like the Grant Gustin when he's just not been great on the day, and Grant Gustin when you could tell in season 5 and 6 that he just wasn't invested
no,
the same way that he was in season 1.
no, you could definitely tell. He was more like phoning it in around about season 7.
Once again, wrestling will teach you very much how a character and a wrestler can go from being interested and like loving what he's doing to being, whether he's winning or losing, I literally could not give a crap about what I'm doing. I'm just waiting for my check to clear, waiting for my contract to run out, and then I'm gone. And you might see me in WCW or ECW soon, or WWE, depending on what company it was.
Well, there's one actress in the cast who I wouldn't say she was the best actress in the cast. She wasn't, but I felt that she really grew on the show as time went on, and that was Nicole Kang, who played Mary Hamilton. She was like the stepsister of Kate Kane, the Chinese-looking chick. At first,
yeah, I was gonna say, like, no offense, but the like Oriental looking,
yeah.
Like clearly either Chinese, Filipino, or like Taiwanese, Korean, or whatever. Yeah, she was a decent actress, and you know what? To be fair, once again, going back to what I just said before, she seemed like she cared about what she was involved in.
Yeah, at first when I saw her, I just thought, oh, she's just a made-up character for the show. She'll be in it for what, one season and she's done. But they actually stuck with her, and she actually went on to become one of the standouts of the show. And her scenes with Rachel Scarsden, they were some good stuff there. And I remember watching those scenes back. I just thought, it's amazing when you see Mary Hamilton. At first, you think, "Oh, she's just a typical rich brat."
Did she become like a superhero or something in the
She
third
became
series?
she became one of the main villains.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, or was it a villain? She was. I can picture her now because, to be fair, throughout the series, she went from being a bit of a bubbly, sort of like 21-year-old, maybe the girl next door, sort of. If you like her, you like her, to being quite a hot, like Chinese Korean looking temptress, like dominatrix.
Yeah,
because I remember
she did
once again, I
actually.
remember seeing some pictures of her. This would have been when the black girl was Batwoman. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to her
And
in a minute.
she went really
Oh
like.
yeah.
But to be like, once again, like, why did we not get any of that in the first series? Like,
I think what they would,
vixens and femme fatales and all that type of stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, I think with Mary Hamilton's character, I think they had a plan, which one of the few things that actually worked. They had a plan to just like slowly build her up. Like, she's on the team, no one really takes any notice of her. Everyone's just like, yeah, that's nice, Mary, whatever. And you just slowly watch. When you rewatch it again, you're saying, right, she's going to turn heel. You don't know when, but you don't know how. But when it happens, it's going to be good and it's going to be explosive. And she actually transformed into the new Poison Ivy. And
Yeah,
to
I feel
me,
like she had a bit of a makeover during between season 2 and season 3.
yeah, her hair started to change round about season 2. Her hair went from being like pure black hair to like this black hair with red highlights, and her clothes started to change. Whereas before she would just dress like a party girl, and because she's a doctor in the show, so she went from being like dressed in all like these high heel boots, going out partying to like this sophisticated doctor, and you could clearly see that she was slowly going towards the dark side. And when she did become the new Poison Ivy, which was in season 3, to me, I thought she was the standout of season 3. I thought she was fantastic. And, there's this great scene where she just absolutely rips all the team apart and says, I've always been there for all of you guys. I've always had your back. And what do? You just totally disregard me. You know what? Screw all of you. I'm going with Alice. I've had enough of you guys. And it's one of those moments where if this was wrestling, the whole place would have just popped. You see, you know what? She's a heel, but you know what? We fully agree with her. You treated her like this. You made her into a heel, basically. And yeah, Nicole Kang was awesome. She's, aside from being really good looking, she was a phenomenal actress.
They've
Maybe
also
not.
got the James Gordon character in this, the female that's like a cop, like a detective that's in this as well in
Oh,
the third series. I
Renee
don't know if she's in
Montoya.
the first couple. I know she's in the first couple series, but she's definitely prevalent in the third series
Oh,
when
and Renee
Poison Ivy and all
Montoya.
that comes in.
Oh, Renee Montoya. Yeah, she's from
I think
the.
she's a lesbian as well, isn't she?
That's more been a recent thing in the comics, but originally she was just like a straight Mexican cop. But she was like one of Commissioner Gordon's main guy, like right hand person on the force. Yeah, she was cool. Yeah, she was a
The
cool
third
actress.
season is exactly what all of the seasons should have been, as in on screen, as in like it's just a straight villain thing where they're going after villains and all that.
Mm,
But by the third season, once
yeah.
again, because you've then got to invest into a third actress being the character, it's like, to be honest, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I think we've said this before about other series that had the sort of half and half sort of thing. Legends of Tomorrow did it.
Yeah.
There'll be fans that watch season 3 of this that would be horrified of any negativity of what we're saying, because they would have thought that season 3 was like the greatest thing, having not seen season 1 and season 2, or not knowing that was the same character.
Well,
season 3 was definitely more watchable by what I've seen by looking back, and they definitely glamoured it up. And with the lack of other series where they'd cancelled and other series had gone away, you can see that they also had a bit more of a budget for season 3 in this series. But you could also smell the fact that it was one step too far, where it was like, yeah, we've taken too many left turns, and even if we can sort of survive in this corridor, we are stuck in this corridor no matter what we do.
Well, after Ruby Rose left, after Wallace Day left, Javicia Leslie, that's the black girl, she officially became the lead in Batwoman. She became the new Batwoman, and not a very well-known actress. I didn't really know a lot about her background and what she had done, but I really got the sense with her that she really tried hard. That I've seen like behind the scenes with her, she came across as very likable, very bubbly, and to her credit, she really did her best to make a wish.
Her series, from what I've read, wasn't disliked because she was a bad Batwoman. It was disliked because they obviously, with the failure of Black Lightning, tried to blacken up this show for the diversity thing, and it just, once again, it's not. You don't have to be a racist person. You don't have to be horrible. I'm of color, so I can kind of say this, but you don't have to be of color. You don't have to be racist to say the last thing that this program needed was more diversity. To have all of a sudden in season 3, the cast turns from 5% black to like 60% black. It's like, what's happened here?
But I thought Javicia Leslie,
she did
to
well.
her credit, she did really well, and
she was the better out of the 3. She wasn't the best looking, obviously, because she was clearly
okay. She was okay.
She was playing a different character. Let's be perfectly honest. She was actually playing a different character. Like, she wasn't even playing Kate Kane now. That this what I was on about earlier on. She's actually playing a different Batwoman. So
it's a completely new character.
Yeah, you got to press reset, start again, right? So we don't. Personally, myself, I don't fancy this one.
No,
I don't like her as she's not as good looking as the second one, but she's also not as dislikable as the first one.
Oh, far
so
from
let's give her a chance. And then, of course, after a few episodes, when I've seen from what I've seen of this, all the Mad Hatter and all the stuff there, I feel like, yeah, this is what the program should have been from season 1. If they've got any sense, what they should do is just potentially delete the Kate Kane version of it. Just get rid of that, and then use the Wallace Day version as either like
Yeah.
a alternative universe flashbacks to, oh, there was another Batwoman who lived on a you know what I mean?
Yeah, they could have. That's a good point, actually. Maybe what they should have
Who
done
she
was,
even knew some of the people that I knew, but in her universe. Like they could go back and retcon this in the future just with those two series. The first series, I just think it's, as I said from the start, you could tell from 20 minutes in it talking, I was just like, right, well, I'm not watching any more of this. And
no.
like I said, because of that, I didn't, and my fault, because by the looks of things, what I've seen the last 2 days, like because of what I let the first series do to my brain, that I've suffered, because then the second series and the third series were much more watchable, but I let them affect me to the place where it's like, yeah, I'm not wasting my time ever watching that again.
Well, I mean, I think for me, with Javicia Leslie, as you said, not the best looking girl in the world, but
Good looking girl, but
she's good looking in
it's
her own
very
right.
difficult to have a character, the main character, go from being a white blonde female who's very good looking and clearly designed to draw eyes to the TV screen, to then basically one of Black Lightning's daughters has taken over the mantle as Batwoman.
Yeah, I mean,
Good looking girls, but at the same time, it's like, right, well, where's the investment here? Because now I don't feel like I'm invested in the same female.
one thing I did notice though, when Javicia Leslie took over the role from Kate, Ruby Rose, and Wallace Day, the whole lesbian thing, it was still there, but I don't know if you noticed, it toned down a lot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Third series, once again, and I doubt, because they made it this way. They made it all goes down as, if you're negative to this, you hate gay people. No, they made it this way because they forced it down people's throats in the first series and part of the second series. So by the third series, if you were still watching, or if you just tuned back in, or if you started watching, you might not have noticed that. You might not have noticed the overwhelming tone of that in the series. Like there'll be people out there that when they first listened to what we were saying at first, they might not have even known Warhawk. There was actually a first series of this.
But I did notice, even like when I watched season 3, I thought to myself, you know what? The lesbian thing's still there, but it's not as potent as season 1.
The actress clearly wasn't as lesbian or comfortable in that role part of it, but they were obviously wanted somebody who would fit the role nicely, and they obviously must have noticed that she was a decent actress. Maybe she had auditioned to be one of the other characters, because that's normally what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, that usually does happen. But I was
They
quite
either
pleased.
are another character or they audition to play a different character, and then someone's like, oh, remember that girl that came to the audition?
Yeah, let's use her for something else. But I thought season 3 was a lot better. I mean, yeah, there was still a few clunky bits. It wasn't completely perfect, but it was a lot more enjoyable. The lesbian thing toned right down. It still there.
It felt like a DC Arrowverse show as well.
Yeah,
Which
it was.
the first 2 seasons to me. I mean, you can have you watched it this way more religiously than I did at the time.
I reviewed all 3.
Yeah, and to be honest, you can tell me now, like, did the first 2 series feel like a DC show to you compared to like Arrow and The Flash, etc.?
Well, first of all, season 1, I even joked this to my mate. I said, season 1 to me, especially one episode in particular, it felt like an episode of a show called The L Word.
Yeah.
And the episode that I was talking about to him was, it seemed like, apart from 5 or 10 minutes of Batwoman action, like Batwoman beating up bad guys, it just seemed like everyone was just getting off with everyone. So
yeah, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing in that first series. As in, this is what happens when you tell a load of straight, unbeknownst to what lesbian and gay is, men to make a series that highlights that type of situation, because they clearly did not have. To be honest, a lot of the first series, it doesn't accentuate and show like gay and lesbian people in a good light. It actually makes it look bad. And I don't know if they were doing that on purpose. But once again, Our Flag, I watched that Our Flag Means Death, and that's a LGBT project openly. And I never felt once when I was watching that I was being patronized as a person who's not LGBT.
Well, that one episode in season 1, you had Kate Kane getting off with, I think, was Alfred's daughter or something.
Yeah, there's another Pennyworth in there in
Yeah.
this one,
Oh,
isn't there?
her British accent really got on my nerves. She got off with
Clearly
her.
Canadian or something, and trying
Yeah,
to put on a
the British.
terrible British accent,
Yeah,
as in that they couldn't have just got a more classically trained actress to play that role.
yeah. So you had Kate and Alfred's daughter getting off. Then you had Kate's ex, who's also a black girl, Sophie. She got off with another lady. I think the only person who didn't get off with anyone was Mary Hamilton. It just seemed like everyone was just getting off with everyone. So, all
Yeah,
right,
the second series, like
the
they
second
obviously
series.
the second you know what the difference between the first and the second series is at heart. You've
What's
just
that?
mentioned about the kissing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it in the first series and the second series is to do with how those kisses are looked at. When you see Wallace Day, you are not watching thinking, oh, she's a lesbian. That means she's unattainable to me as a straight man or as a man.
Yeah.
You're looking thinking, she's straight and she's being paid to kiss another woman. This is hot as fuck. Yeah?
She's doing her job. She's doing her job, basically.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking. And that's the problem with them really trying to stick by and then over accentuate the LGBT vibe that was in this series. Was no one at no point ever sat down and said, how is this going to be portrayed to both audiences though? Because there's going to be people that are gay and lesbian out there that are horrified by that portrayal of what they've seen. And the worst part about it is I don't know if Wallace Day is lesbian or not, yeah?
I don't think she's a lesbian.
But the fact that the lesbian girl played this role and played it so poorly is a bit like, right. So the one who was supposed to play, who is a lesbian, find it difficult to play a lesbian, but the ones that are not didn't. Because it's acting, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And
I feel like there's going to be things that, because this is Greg Berlanti in them, and they probably are not gay.
Probably not.
You don't know if there was something backstage. This is in defense of Ruby Rose. This is quite actually shocking that I'm saying this, but in defense of her, you don't know if something was said backstage that she was just like, no gay person would ever do that.
No.
Because you know that there's going to be a level of insensitivity because these are the same people that made Green Lantern, that made Arrow and The Flash. Did they ever do any of the gay stuff in those programs? Apart from when Mr. Terrific came around. So think about it. Are they going to be the most trustworthy people when it comes to a portrayal of a gay female character? You know what I mean?
No, of course.
So maybe that just pissed her off. Maybe she just got annoyed early on, and that's why it come across so bad. Because the other actresses who probably aren't gay, they didn't get that vibe.
No, they probably didn't. I mean, with season 2, I think it was trying to work out the bugs, trying to work out what works and what doesn't. I look at season 2 as kind of like a transitional show. It's like we're moving away from the Kate Kane stuff with Ruby Rose, and we're just transitioning into this middle part between Wallace Day and Kate.
I accept that. I mean, obviously, we know how TV works, don't we?
So it's kind of like transitional.
Friends, season 1 wasn't flawless. And if you'd have watched season 1, you might not have thought that series would have ended up with, 12 series. Smallville season 1, it's got flaws. Yeah?
Yeah.
But the problem is with all that aside, what do you do then at the end of season 1 when you know it's not been great and you know you need to wean out all of those issues, but you've basically got to start all over again?
Now, one character that we haven't touched upon is Luke Fox, who was played by Cameron Johnson. Now, he is the son of Lucius Fox, and he goes on to become Batwing. Now, Batwing was a character that was introduced in the comic books during the New 52 run, and I'm not going to lie, I didn't really like this guy very much. I mean, I like Luke Fox in the comics. I loved him in the animated movies. I just didn't really like him in the show. I mean, what was your thoughts on Luke Fox in the show?
Well, like I said earlier on, to be honest, I spent a lot of the series thinking that he was gay.
Yeah.
Because I know who you're on about. He's obviously the tech whiz with the glasses.
Tech whiz. Yeah.
like once again, she gets her version. So they do it all right, where she gets like we can't give you the main characters, yeah. So we're gonna give you their cousins, sons, wives, sisters, that type of stuff. But we're gonna make this right, and we're gonna
Yeah.
give her no. None of that happened. None of that stuff happened. They just gave you the right players in the game, and then it was poorly. Like it took too long for him to become Batwing. It took way too long. Like most people would have probably turned off from his character a season and a half before he became that character.
The thing with him is
Acting was terrible.
it
And
wasn't great.
you never very much like Mr. Terrific in Arrow, this the one that I can rank, not because he's black and because he was gay, but because
The way
it's
it
like
was written.
it was not viable as any sort of character. You can't build these people as really like one thing I didn't like about Cisco in Flash was that he was overly built as a character after he got his powers, or after it was revealed that he had powers.
Yeah.
He was overly built up as a I don't care. Even though before that he was always the scared guy who's happy scientist to stay in the lab and help from there.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs to fight. But then when he became the step aside, let me take like no, that's not believable. I didn't buy it. Didn't buy it at all. And it's the same with this character. Like they'd already built him as a character, which was you just do the tech stuff. You do the thinking, I'll do the fighting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I know he was going to become Batwing eventually, but it just didn't seem like it was a great payoff. It came across as very forced. Okay, he's Batwing now. No. Hang on a minute. Have we seen this guy work out? Have we seen this guy train? Have we seen him do anything? No, it doesn't matter. He's going to be a hero.
It doesn't matter because the suit will show you that he's muscly as anything. It's all nonsense.
Oh, the suit. You know what? My friend said to me once, if you just painted the bat symbol on his chest red, it would have looked like a bootleg Batman Beyond suit. But you know,
well, to me, he just got they just gave him her suit in reverse, like
more or
as
less.
in he just got one of her cast-off suits that are probably taking a bit of damage or whatever, and then they just said, "Yeah, put a few bits and bobs here and there," and that's his. You could see that his costume looked worn, like unless they did loads of filming with him and we didn't get to see any of that. You just need to look at him as that character, and you'll see that costume has clearly either been worn by somebody else before he put the costume on, or it's a reused costume.
Yeah. I actually thought at one point in the show's run, I actually thought Mary Hamilton was actually going to become Batgirl because they seem to be pushing more her story arc. So I thought, okay. So obviously she's been the new Poison Ivy 2.0. I thought maybe as a way of redeeming herself, maybe she might become that universe's Batgirl because I thought that was where they were heading, but they didn't because in the comic books, Bruce Wayne took on Cassandra Cain, who's like this Chinese Oriental girl as Batgirl. And Batman got rid of her after one mission because she killed someone on the job. And Batman said, rule number one, when you're my sidekick or partner, no killing. And because you killed someone, I can't have you on my team. Get out.
Also, as well, if you remember, they were also filming the Batgirl film, or it was in production.
Oh
yeah. So that was the evolution. Batwoman wasn't a big enough character to get on the screen, on the big screen.
She does well in the comics, but she's not big enough or strong enough to carry her own film. I mean, Batwoman, totally different version, of course. Batwoman did appear in the DCAU, but only in an animated movie, and that was a decent animated movie. It was quite good. And the Batwoman
the DC animated movies, as we know, are levels above. Like if they could only get half of the people that are thinking in the animated series, which, as you well know, it's because what they are doing in the animated series is they are actually reading from the source material, which is the comics, obviously. Whereas it seems to me like in the films and the programs, a lot of time we get this live action sort of, well, this character can do this.
Well, I get the sense, I mean, we've talked about this throughout all of these Arrowverse reviews. It's like with the films, you kind of get half of the source. With the TV shows, you get maybe 5% of the source, and the rest of it is soap opera, which is not really what you want. Obviously, you got the drama aspects, but that's not
Yeah,
really
it's
what
Power
you're there
Rangers
for.
without the it's Power Rangers without the Japanese footage being available. It's basically them saying, right, we've got the suits, we've got the costumes, but we've got the budget to basically make a Saved by the Bell program that features superheroes that fight against like monsters and powered up people. But of course, we don't fucking have the budget for any of that. So if you haven't got the budget to do something, then
Don't do it.
just don't do it.
Yeah,
That
pretty.
because this might not be Marvel or DC. This is just common sense. We had already seen this years before. If
And
you
it,
don't have the budget to do something, do not do it. And this is where I feel like I'm not sure how much money was being allocated around the DC television universe at this point, but there was a lot of issues with, once again, with the Batgirl film.
mm,
So how much money got allocated to the Batgirl film that then was subsequently supposed to fund part of this universe or whatever films came out around them, which was supposed to fund part of this universe. And there's clearly a lack of funding and a lack of thought going into any of this. But if you put this in an animated form, I reckon DC and Warner would have knocked this out the park. All of this
oh, totally.
from Green Lantern all the way to the failed Batgirl movie. If they're just animated films, DC knocks them out of the park every film.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But it it is a shame because I felt by season 3 of Batwoman, it was just starting to get really good. They
Too
finally
little, too late.
too little, too late. Indeed, it
And
was one of those.
once again, the money in the background. Because if they were clever, they would have done with Legend, they would have just carried on Warhawk. Like they did with
Yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow, they would have just carried on and said, look, deal with it. This is a different program, but deal with it. The fact that
Mm.
this only got 3 series says that they ran out of money.
Well, I felt that season 3, out of all 3 seasons, I thought season 3 was the best one. And they were just starting to hit their stride. It's almost like, right, we've got rid of the specter of Ruby Rose. We had a bit of a clunky season 2, but we still managed to kind of make that work. We finally got season 3. We're just starting to get somewhere, and then they cancelled it. Maybe in hindsight, it was probably for the best. Maybe they did
Yeah.
run out of money.
All
We'll
that, what you've just said, and then but guys, but we've run out of money. So that
can't
it
do
just
it
sounds
anymore.
like that is the only. Because to be fair, you are right. Season 3 was better than a lot of the mid seasons of Arrow and Flash.
Oh,
So
absolutely. And usually season 3 with
at its best, season 3 of this was still better than some of the real bad other series moments. Not the series in general, but some of the later series of the other things like Legends of Tomorrow and Flash, etc. When I started to give up, it deserved a 4th season,
yeah,
and she
totally.
deserved a 2nd season as the character. But they must have run out of money. They must have run out of money.
No, I think what was going on at the time, I think was, as you said earlier, a lot of the Arrowverse shows were getting cancelled, and I think they were trying to. I think there was something going on with the CW. I think that a lot of their shows were getting cancelled and contracts weren't getting renewed. People were leaving, and I think with all the stuff that's going on over at the DCEU, I think they were just trying to do like a clean slate. So look, this is not working anymore. Let's just pull the plug on it. We're going to all start fresh because none of this is going anywhere. We're just throwing money at these things for the sake of it. And we're just embarrassing everyone and ourselves. And I think that's probably what a lot of it is because
I think the second lockdown as well, the second lockdown in 2021, I think it caused quite a financial problem for the
that
Greg
did destroy a lot of
Berlanti
plans.
studios, for the Berlanti studios that were involved in this. Because if I'm not wrong, there was a couple of series that got cancelled without even being seen. And then obviously that led to the cancellation at some point of the Batgirl movie, which obviously, and if you remember, Batman was also delayed as well. That the Batman film was also delayed.
Yeah.
And it did start to raise eyebrows, didn't it? Because I remember when we first started talking, we were talking about, the future of Flash and that, where we knew it was kind of getting cancelled and it wasn't returning. And it was like, you know, where do they go? Because they've still got Superman and Lois about to come out and all that type of stuff. And it was like, it looks like some of these series are going to be standalone. And then, of course, that's when we started to realize that like series like Peacemaker was obviously being made by a different studio, and it was obviously being made for a shorter series. And what I'd said from the year before, which was maybe they need to start going to like Game of Thrones length series where they're hour-long programs, but they're obviously only like 10 of them a season.
Well, I mean, I think also with all of this going on, there was an idea. I remember reading about this before Ruby Rose left. There was an idea of having Batwoman and Superman and Lois crossing over into each other. Like there would have been an episode or two where Lois and Clark would have gone to Gotham City and Superman would have worked with Batwoman for a couple of episodes, but Ruby Rose had already left the show by that point, and the whole thing got canned, which is a shame really, because I've got one comic book from the 90s where Superman and Batgirl actually teamed up to try and save Bruce Wayne. So that would have been quite an interesting thing to do in Batwoman. Maybe Kate could contact Superman and says, look,
especially when they brought in Superman and Lois as a series, which, you know, once again, maybe she could have just had a bit of a break, and then she could have just been a bit of a side character in the first series of Superman. They obviously wanted to get rid of this program.
Because I read that the story that they were going to do was Kate would have contacted Superman and said, look, my cousin Bruce Wayne's missing. You know him better than anyone. Will you help me find him? And Superman, of course, said, sure, I'll help. What do you need me to do? And I think that would have I think that was the plan for season 2.
You know what's weird as well? Is when you look up the recaps of any series, they've all got loads of like you know, views on certain videos, but you know, when you look up the recaps of this series, most videos have got less than like 500 views. It's like this, no one cares about this film apart from the videos, this program, sorry, apart from the videos that say, why did this fail? Why was this bad? What happened? It's obviously like a lot of people watched this and just thought, nah, whatever this is, I'm not buying into it. And then years down the line, they thought, yeah, what was that program that came out? And like myself, they've gone back and been like, oh, whoa, what was this? Because once again, I'm looking at one guy, and if you put Batwoman recap, he's popping in at the top 30 videos on YouTube without me being signed into any page. This is on the internet version of YouTube, and he's popping in at the top 30 views, but yet none of his videos have got like more than like 200 views.
Yeah.
Like literally season 1, episode 4, or season 3, episode 4, sorry, 33 views. And it's like, wow, like, no, people seriously did not like this program, or by this stage even know that it existed. I mean, one thing I'll ask is anything from the Arrowverse still active now, or has that officially been completely shut down now?
Superman and Lois is coming back for one more season, season 4, but they've said that it's not actually connected to the Arrowverse. It's a separate universe, but that's the only show left that the CW are putting out. But it's a CW show with the HBO Max budget, so they're getting one final season, which I'm quite pleased about.
Well, they definitely switched over the budget, didn't they, for the DC programs about 3 years ago? But they strategically chose which programs were going to survive and which programs were not going to survive. Do you know what I mean? I think, to be fair, you're right. I think Superman and Lois was the only actual, you know, previously with Greg Berlanti and them, man, to their production that was actually like, no, listen, we'll take this over to HBO, and we'll give it that little gloss.
Yeah.
The rest of them never got near HBO.
No. I think Superman and Lois was one of those shows they really took their time with it and really wanted to do something special with it. And for the most part, they really have. So before we wrap this up, we're going to give our ratings on seasons 1 to 3. Rex, you will go first, my man. What did you rate season 1 out of 10?
Season 1 by far the worst. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. It was terrible. It was. To be fair, and I'm going to say this right now, it actually was the worst overall series of anything that I have seen as part of the Arrowverse. And I'm just going to outright say season 1, because of the bad acting, because of the clear backstage problems, the bad portrayal of the character, the overwhelming LGBT vibe that was in the program. And it, like, once again, I repeat, I have no problem with that. It's just because of how much it was in the program. It made the character, the program, and the series, and all of the other characters subsequently unlikable. And the first series, like, and I'm just going to say this right now. I have seen 3 episodes of series 1. And I will never, ever, ever in my entire life, unless it's by default, because it gets repeated on normal TV, I will never in my life go back and watch any more of season 1.
Oh, wow.
Season 1 was, I don't think I've rated anything that low. Season 1 was definitely a 2 out of 10. I think season 2 improved slightly. I'm going to give it a 4, because they tried and they at least made the character more likable, whether she was lesbian or not. Season 3, actually not too bad. I'm going to give season 3 6. In fact, I'm going to be nice. I'm actually going to give season 3 a 7, because it was so good compared to season 1. I'm going to give it an extra point. Overall, I'm going to give the whole 3 series like a 4, because season 2 wasn't enough to resurrect it, and season 3 wasn't even enough to even keep it sort of on life support. Like, even because of how bad season 1 was. This started off, once again, like I said, I've never known anything to go off a cliff so quickly. Like, nothing. I've heard of programs that did actually get cancelled 10, 12 episodes in. And I generally watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of this series and thought, why did this not get cancelled after like 5 episodes? It was poor.
Well, as someone who's actually seen all 3 seasons all the way through and reviewed all of them, I'm going to give season 1. Yes, I totally agree what you said. It wasn't very good. There were some good episodes, however. I won't lie. There was some episodes, maybe not enough to warrant season 1 being good, but I'm going to give season 1. I'm going to give it an honest 4 out of 10. It had some good episodes, but overall it was not that great.
Yeah, in hindsight, I'm sure if I watched season 1 in full, I'd probably look at it more towards a 3 and a 4, because there would have been things. I mean, like I said, 2 is very low, but you have to understand that I watched 3 hours of this character, and apart from, once again, the crisis, if I add in the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing, the fall off a cliff from her appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths all the way down to her appearance in this was like head-scratchingly bad. Like, wow, what
went wrong?
Like, I had criticisms of Kara's character in Supergirl, as she, got more covered up, and they focused less on the traditional Supergirl character and went with a more empowered female lesbian sort of thing that I started to feel across the whole of this Arrowverse. Like, I had criticisms of her character, but she never played the character differently. She lost a bit of her sex appeal. I won't deny she did lose a bit of her sex appeal towards the end of the series. But in this series, there was no sex appeal. There was nothing in the first series. And like I said, at the end of the day, nothing can ever tell me that any of the, like, imagine when you first seen Barry in Arrow. Imagine the first three episodes of Arrow being, a Flash being that bad that you're like, what did they do with this character?
Yeah, no.
Like, how did this get so bad? Not 6.5 series of the Flash where you start scratching your head saying, right, we've seen this 150 times, it's starting to get boring now. No, I'm talking about 3 episodes in. I watched the first 2 episodes, that I'll just give it a chance. I was so invested in the Arrowverse that I would have probably watched the whole series had I not watched it from the start. So, if I'd have gone back 6 months later and watched the whole series, I would have watched the whole series and then been like, whoa, what was this? Rather than trying to invest into the program because I thought it was going to be a good program. And then 2.5, 3 episodes in, I was like, right, I'm done with this. I'm going to leave it for a few weeks like I would do with Arrow and Flash. And I just never went back.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Season 2, I will give this an honest 5 out of 10. Because, like you said earlier, it wasn't perfect, but you got the sense that they were trying to really make this work. And season 3, I absolutely loved season 3. I thought season 3 was the best of the bad lots. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And, you know, overall, the show itself.
Season 3 was definitely the best.
Oh,
Season 3 was
definitely.
definitely by far the best. And to be fair, if structured correctly, and if they had enough knowledge, they should have just, they could have just made her do a few extra scenes, like in the Batcave or wherever,
Yeah.
and or do it with a different character and have them talk in hindsight like it's stories from the past, and they could actually turn a percentage of this series in the third series into like films, like they did with
Yeah.
the old series, where they take story arcs of like 2 or 3 or 4 episodes and they shorten them down, take out all of the filler and the silly bits, or the stuff that might link into episodes that came from before, and they make it like a 2 hour and 10 minute film, like TV special film. They could do this with this Batgirl series. The third series, I'm not too sure about the second series, and they could use it as flashbacks or maybe like alternative universe stuff. But I'd leave well alone the first series, to be
Oh,
honest.
yeah, absolutely. Overall, I would give the whole show itself, I'll give it probably 5 out of 10. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, if I'm truly honest. It
Yeah, four,
was,
5 is definitely fair for the whole series, because
yeah,
once again, there's an anchor. There's a problem here because there's a massive anchor that holds down the other 2 series. So even if series 2, and I'm talking from a real subjective standpoint here, let's say we're not invested in the characters. Let's say mine and your job right now is to just look at these 3 series, sorry, as what they are.
yeah,
You cannot, even if you separate all 3 of these and say this is Batwoman played in 3 different characters, 3 different versions of Batwoman played by 3 different women. The first portrayal, it's the anchor. You never get out of the bay. That ship does not sail whatsoever from that first series. So, to be fair, if you looked at this, and I'm sure you'd agree with this, if this was looked at from series 2 to series 3, it's actually not a bad series. It's definitely a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 series. And
oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure that I've ranked the other series lower than that, like 4s and 5s out of 10 from Arrow and Thingy, because of how bad some of their series were.
I think with Batwoman overall, had it moved to HBO Max with a higher budget, maybe with a stronger script and a better cast, we probably would be having a different conversation with this, because it had potential. I said
If
to my
they'd have gone
friend
to
before.
HBO, I'm almost certain this would have been the best. Like, it would have started off as the worst, but
Oh, it
because
would
they
have
would
got
have got a few
better.
of them Game of Thrones writers, Better Call Saul writers, whatever they've got over there, yeah, this would have got, if this got 10 episodes in a 4th series, and it got even 10% of treatment from like the Peacemaker people, and they went a bit more darker and a bit more dynamic, and with the lesbian element more sexualized and stuff, turned up to like a 9 or 8 or 9. Yeah, this could have been something really, really special. But I mean, even just on the CW Warhawk, this could have been, and I think that's why the first series gets so much negativity from me, because this is the furthest away in the whole DC universe of what could have been. What this
Yes.
was and what this could have been, miles apart. You wouldn't
And
have expected Arrow. We didn't know anything about Arrow. We didn't know what the production was going to be like, yeah? That turned out in the first 4 or 5 series way better than anyone would have imagined, and so for The Flash. But this is the complete opposite of that spectrum. You expected something half decent from these people, and this was not watchable.
no,
The first series.
no, absolutely not. And I feel if the show had gone to HBO Max with a bigger budget, there could have been a strong possibility of Batwoman crossing over into Titans. The potential was there. If they had gone down that route, Batwoman could have appeared in Titans for 2 episodes, teaming up with Nightwing. But
I felt like, remember my idea of the superhero of the week thing?
yeah, like
I felt like,
Brave and the Bold sort of thing.
yeah, that should have been what they did with the Peacemaker series. They should have gone down that route of, right, we've got all of these characters. Let's just film an episode with Peacemaker. Let's film an episode with, say, Nightwing. Let's film an episode with, say, Batwoman. Let's get all of these actresses and these people in the studio. Let's just film an episode. Then we'll have like a sort of like a, you know, random Justice League team up at the end, and we'll see how this works out. I would take 10 of the series of Supergirl, like not all of the series, obviously, but just like certain seasons of these series. I'd have taken out multiple series just for one mini series of like, let's get these characters like movie style up there. Bit more budget, a bit more focus, standalone stories if necessary. I don't think anyone would have given two S's about standalone stories by the time that we got to Arrow season 5 and 6, and then, you know, Flash season 3 and 4, Supergirl season 2 and 3. Because how much episodic TV do we need?
No, that's true. No, you're absolutely right.
Another thing that we never mentioned, and I wish we'd mentioned this. I swear that Killer Croc was in this.
He was in one episode. You're right. He was in one episode.
Why? Why was he in this?
I have no idea.
And was it the same guy? Please tell me it wasn't the same guy from.
No, it was not him. No.
From the Suicide Squad film.
No.
It couldn't have been him.
No. He's too big of an actor.
Because they even did that, and it wasn't like the biggest thing in this series. That's mad. That character should have been anywhere near this series. Like anywhere near this series.
A guy like Killer Croc belongs on the big screen.
So many examples of why certain characters should never be on TV. And if they are, they have to be surrounded by certain characters
to make it work. Absolutely.
Yeah. No one's favorite season was season 1, unless they only watch season 1. So that's the only season that they can actually reference, which subsequently by default would make it the best and worst season. No one. And I mean, you need your head testing seriously. I've watched multiple episodes of the Arrowverse. I've watched multiple series. So have you, Warhawk. And there is absolutely, undeniably no argument. Season 1 of this program was the worst, by far worst Arrowverse series, show, character that has existed in the whole of the Arrowverse, bar none.
Well, we are going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on Batwoman? Do you agree with me and Rex's thoughts? Do you think this was a success or a complete failure? What was your favorite season? Was it season 1, season 2? Or season 3? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Rex, this was an absolute pleasure as always, talking about this show.
As always, like I say, I assume they're all going to get a bit like this going forward now, because it's like, right, well, I didn't watch it, but yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here. And once again, like I said, feel free to come at me, come at Warhawk, and tell us why you liked this series and why you thought that this series was a success and not a failure. But if we are talking about the successes and failures of the programs from the Arrowverse, this was an overall failure. But at the same time, still catch season 3. It was definitely watchable.
So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening. Rex, pleasure as always.
Peace out, guys. Peace out, Warhawk.
Bye for now.